This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It's time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, joined by first time we've had back-to-back guests during the weekdays. We've had Shawn Lucas. He was on the show yesterday. We're back with the Mouthing Off with Mike host, Mike Mele. He has survived Philadelphia, and we are joined by producer Desmond Johnson. Now, we have a huge show planned for you. We got some NFL talk. We got some WWE to go through, with it being Top Rope Tuesday. But we have breaking NBA news in the last 10 minutes. Blake Griffin is retiring from the NBA. So he is calling it quit, I believe, after 13 years. Again, this broke like minutes ago. So I'll hit Shawn with it real quick. Shawn, what did you think about Blake Griffin retiring? What's his legacy?
It's time. I mean, Blake's been a good player. Really wish he would have got a ring those years he was with the Clippers. He didn't. Thought he'd be able to jump on one of those teams, Golden State, somewhere around there, Miami, somewhere where he could jump on to get right LA to get a ring. Unfortunately, he wasn't. But Blake, to me, changed the big man position when he came in. I still remember him in Oklahoma. He was a good college player. So I think he not at least top 20. I'll give him top 20. I think those first couple of years in LA is really where he hit his peak coming out of college. Then, a couple of injuries in Detroit, he started to decline. But top 20 guy, absolutely.
Top 20 overall or top 20 big man?
Top 20 big man. Thank you, sir, for correcting that. Top 20 big man. That's right.
Okay.
I was about to say, Shawn.
We were about to go into Chris Paul. We were about to go into all of them. Des, what was your initial reaction? Again, this broke like minutes ago with Blake Griffin retiring from the NBA.
I didn't know he was still playing, to be honest. The last team, honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to make a joke. I didn't know he was still playing. The last team I remember him on was Boston, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, his last team was Boston.
So, I didn't even know he was still active. I don't know, but he was a number one overall pick. So, but he never made it to an NBA Finals. I don't think the Clippers ever made it to a Western Conference Finals while he was there. Probably in the end will be remembered for his dunks only. I think he'll get remembered kind of like Dominique Wilkins in terms of like highlights, and that's it, because Dominique never got to a Eastern Conference Final either, but was the human highlight film. And Blake's kind of the version 2.0 of Dominique, I guess, because they're both were like power dunkers. So great highlight guy, but I would question if I would build a franchise around him in hindsight, knowing the career he ended up having, I guess.
Wow. And Griffin retires, came into the league at 2009 after spending a few years in Oklahoma, retired just now. He's a 6-time NBA All-Star, 3-time All-NBA second team, 2-time All-NBA third team. So, and also the slam dunk contest back in 2011 that, got everybody in a frenzy. We jumped over a car, but we wanted to touch on that and, mention Blake Griffin has retired, but I invited a couple people on. I have some beef with you guys just because you have terrible choice of teams. I remembered yesterday Shawn was an Eagles fan, and the news broke yesterday that Devonta Smith got an extension from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's now in the top 5 paid receivers at his position. And so whenever a player gets a new contract, they're usually at the top of their position. But I have to ask this question. Is he deserving of the money? Because at this point, we're not seeing a lot of NFL teams invest in the wide receiver position. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They trade away Tyreek Hill and have won back-to-back Super Bowls without him. Like, the receiver position may not be as luxurious as some people make. And I wanted to touch because each of our teams have a different story at the wide receiver position. So I wanted to touch on Shawn and Mike real quick. The Eagles now are spending big money at wide receiver. They have 2 wide receivers in the top 5 when you include A.J. Brown in that list as well. Shawn, do you think the Eagles are using their money well at the receiver position? And do you think Devonta Smith is worthy of that contract? Is he a top 5 wide receiver?
Yes, sir, and yes, sir to both those questions. I mean, Roland Howie does it again. That's Howie. He just has a way to be able to pay the guys at the right time. A.J. Brown, I mean, you look at stats for Devonta. Last year, 1,066. He was 390 yards shy of A.J. Brown. Year before that, 1,196. 14-3 that season. His rookie year, 14-3 the year went to Super Bowl. Rookie year, 916, the leading receiver. It's time. When we brought A.J. Brown, he knew his role was he's a stretch guy, get down the field, stretch the field, big shot. This is what he's for. It was time to pay him. We brought in Saquon. We paid Saquon. A.J.'s been paid. Jalen's been paid. Devonta finally got what he was worth then. I mean, we're building an offense. And if you want to keep an offense together, you got to do what they say, pay the man. So they did exactly what they needed to do.
Shawn's happy that they paid the man. Mike, you're an Eagles fan, unfortunately. Waiting for you to change your allegiances. But
Never.
What do you think about Devonta Smith getting the bag?
I mean, it's deserved. I mean, Shawn hit the nail right on the head. He's right there. I think this could be a year where you say maybe Devonta Smith has better stats than AJ Brown in that position. I think Devonta Smith is Mr. Consistency. If AJ Brown's on that field, Devonta Smith is the guy he turns to. Half the time, even when AJ Brown's on the field, he's going to Devonta Smith. He gets up there, he makes the catches, he makes big plays, special players. You love to see it overall, So I'm glad to see him get paid. Like Shawn said, everybody's getting their money. Howie's doing it at the right time. Things are working out. So let's hope that this is a good omen for the start of the season.
Now it's interesting, Des. I mean, these are 2 Eagles guys, but I'm just saying, I don't think Devonta Smith is a top 5 wide receiver. Aaron Schneider commenting on our YouTube channel. You guys can be a part of the show, even though Aaron was wrong on that take. You can be a part of the show, comment on our YouTube channel, and get a shout out on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. But Des, do you think Devonta is a top 5 wide receiver?
Me personally, no, I don't. I'm never going to hate a man for, getting his money, get whatever you can get. But if you go to Pro Football Focus, the rankings from last year, the highest graded wide receivers, Tyreek Hill came in at number 1, Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco, number 2, Nico Collins from Houston, number 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown from Detroit, number 4, and Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, number 5, CeeDee Lamb from Dallas is number 6. Devonta Smith isn't in the top 20 from ranked wide receivers from last year, which I thought was actually surprising. There's guys near like DeAndre Hopkins and Tank Dell is in the top 20, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, but I don't see him anywhere. But then I can go over and look at Devonta's stats individually. He's had 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, so super important for the growth of Jalen Hurts to have those wide receivers on both sides. I don't know if I would have paid him top 5 money, but if Philly, it's not my money. So if that's what Philly wants to do, so be it. But I don't know if I would consider him I don't consider him a top 5 wide receiver in today's NFL.
Des is like, I will budget and not budget for Devonta Smith with top 5. I mean,
if it's worth it, if the proof's in the pudding. But again, like I said, he didn't even rank in the top 20 of PFF's highest rated wide receivers last season. So it's kind of hard to justify paying him top 5 money, but hey, if maybe Philly's paying for potential instead of results. He is a former Heisman winner, so
he is a former Heisman winner, and now it is impressive to have 1,000 yards, especially as the number 2 option. But to me, to be a top 5 wide receiver, you need to be the number 1 guy on your team, and maybe that's not fair because AJ Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle, but that's just me personally. The Eagles now have 2 wide receivers in the top 5 in terms of paid receivers, but Carolina Panthers are doing a different approach. The Carolina Panthers trade away DJ Moore to trade up and get Bryce Young number 1 overall. The Panthers are, not picking the first round next week because of it, and we're going to cover more of the Panthers draft here in the next week as we lead into Thursday and Friday night of next week. But Des, you saw DJ Moore walk. The Panthers have lacked at wide receiver here recently. Do you regret seeing him walk, especially now seeing like guys like Devonta Smith and AJ Brown make a difference for the Eagles?
No. It's the same situation as Brian Burns. Like, I mean, when a franchise hits a reset button, you kind of have to look at the assets that you've already paid and decide, are they going to still be at that level by the time we're able to compete? And I don't think that Brian Burns, DJ Moore, even Christian McCaffrey would have been in their prime still by the time the Panthers are seriously competing in the NFC again, unless they just have a super quick rebuild over the next like 18 months. DJ had just gotten his extension. I think it was like 60 million or something like that over 4 years. So it doesn't make sense to have a wide receiver you're paying top 10 money to when you reset the whole roster. So in terms, we didn't let him walk. We used him to move up to get a quarterback. And I see people saying all the time, well, maybe they messed up with that pick. I don't think that the Panthers would have not did that trade, even if Bryce Young doesn't pan out. I think they wouldn't regret the actual pick. They would regret who they picked, not the fact that they moved up and what they gave up to get to number one. So, yeah, I don't think that they regret. Actually, if you ask them, I don't think they regret trading DJ Moore at all. It was between him and Brian Burns and somebody else that the Bears asked for specifically in that deal, and they gave up DJ Moore. So wide receivers are a bit easier to replace than a stud defensive end or, you know what I mean, like a quarterback or something. Wide receivers, this draft is loaded with them. So I don't think it's a big deal for the Panthers in hindsight.
And the Panthers are likely going to draft a wide receiver at either pick 33 or pick 39. They have 2 picks in the top 40 next week.
I just dropped an article on sportscolonmonthly.com detailing, I think the top 4 wide receivers that might still be available at pick 33 for Carolina. So if you're a Panther fan, go over check that out. It's on the homepage of sportscolonmonthly.com.
And I'm seeing here in the comment section, Booking Like a Mark. They do really good stuff on their podcast. You should check them out. But they're saying that it's a passing league and teams need to pay their receivers. This is why it's so important for the Cowboys to take care of Lamb. And I want to touch on this while we are still on wide receivers, because I also dropped an article, this being for fansfirstsports.com. But why is CeeDee Lamb not in the building? Why have the Cowboys not re-signed CeeDee Lamb? Because that's a difference maker. And more importantly,
what are the Cowboys doing? Since you're here, what are they doing? Because it feels like
that's what I want to know.
And the whole offseason, you're the Cowboy guy on the panel. Like, what are they? Are you scared? Like, what are they doing? They didn't get anything in free agency. They re-signed the long snapper or something like that.
Okay, locked down.
Like, what is going on in Dallas? Like, what are they doing?
Long snapping, number 1 in the league.
Hey, long snapping, you get point after touchdown, you get field goals, you get field possession with punts. Like, don't hate on the long snapper. Don't hate on my guy Trent Sieg. Okay. But it is a little concerning that Lamb hasn't re-signed and they haven't gotten that deal done. They haven't gotten Dak Prescott's deal done. Micah Parsons is wanting a contract extension. They don't have enough. They didn't have enough cap space this offseason because all these guys are making these big money deals. But, oh man, like if you could just re-sign Lamb and like push some of that money back into further years, that way you have flexibility for this year. But maybe that deal was like a month too late. But they really need to get CeeDee Lamb locked up because he's a huge part of that offense. In my mind, he is a top 10 receiver. You know, Des mentioned, number 6 on the PFF. Max saying, Jerry says deadline make deals. Going close to the deadline. I thrived on the deadline when it came to my college classes, my exams, my papers, but do not recommend it for the Dallas Cowboys to operate like I did in college.
Yeah, procrastination works in college. I don't know if it works in NFL free agency. Like, I don't think it translates to the same result. So
I think it's a little bit too late for the Cowboys when it comes to free agency this year.
Everybody in the NFC's got
better. It's done.
Good luck, Charlie.
Even the Commanders got better. Like,
yeah,
everyone got better. The Cowboys are literally at the same spot they were at when the season ended. So I don't know what to expect here.
Yeah, and there's some holes. Unfortunately, there are some holes in Dallas. You lose, your left tackle, your center. Those are 2 holes on the offensive line. Michael Gallup, leaves for Baltimore. Dallas cut him. Leighton Vander Esch retired. Jonathan Hankins went to Seattle. Those 2 guys would stop the run. Stephon Gilmore still not re-signed. So it's very important, Dallas, to rebuild in the draft. Dallas has picked 24, I believe, in the draft. The Eagles are pretty well tooled right now. The Panthers will, be drafting at 33 and 39, and we'll be covering the NFL draft here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio on Out Pocket with Michael Davis here in the next week. So stay tuned for that. But I got a couple wrestling guys on, and it is Top Rope Tuesday. Mike did survive Philadelphia
Barely.
at WrestleMania 40, to say the least. I was actually on his roundtable for his podcast. So last night we saw Rhea Ripley vacate her title at the top of the show due to injury, and it got to day 380. If she had held the title one more day, she would have eclipsed Bayley's reign as the longest reigning women's world champion in history. Since the title came into inception back in 2016 with the SmackDown women's title. So, Mike, I'll start with you. Do you like how WWE handled this? And where do you think Rhea's title reign ranks among other women's champions in history?
This is a tough one because I've had the whole night to really think about it. Since Raw was yesterday. It's weird because it seems very rushed. Like the announcement seemed very rushed. Like you could tell either, obviously with the injury, we still have to see what the extent of it is, how long she's going to be out for. But she did allude to, a multi-month process, which I feel if it was like two months, I feel like we didn't really need to take the title off of her. Sounds like it's going to be longer than 2, potentially 3, 4, who knows, 6 months. So I guess they handled it properly. It just seems very rushed because now, the announcement for next week on Raw is that a new women's world champion will be crowned. There's no tournament. There's, no nothing. It's next week, a new champ's crowned. So very, very rushed, but also seems like they kind of knew about it a little bit. Maybe they knew about it post WrestleMania. Maybe they knew, earlier, yesterday, in the morning. So very weird. Not a fan. Maybe we could have given her one more week, like you said, get her the record. But I mean, she's going to come back better than ever, stronger than ever, more than likely a baby face. And she's going to be even more over with the crowd because now she'll get to do what a lot of people feel baby faces are only good at. Looking at Des, the chase. So, Rhea gets to go on the chase now as a baby face when she comes back, more than likely. So that should be interesting. As for, the injury, speedy recovery, because I think Rhea's title reign will go down as one of the top of this modern era. It was dominance, pure dominance. Mommy stayed on top until she had to give up the title.
If you missed it, Mike's last appearance on Out Pocket, he and Des went at it for about 10, 15 minutes when it came to, baby faces and, being more about the chase than the actual title run. So I'm sure we'll talk about Cody a lot more in depth here soon. But Shawn, I really hate this because we just saw Seth Rollins have a torn MCL and torn meniscus and not compete for 3 months leading into WrestleMania and defend his title. I feel like they should have given Rhea Ripley the same treatment. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Mike, because Raw's in trouble now. When you lose Mommy, I looked at the roster this morning before we got ready to come on, and I'm not going to call everybody's name, but it's really only 3 people you can put the title on now, either Liv, Nia Jax, or either Shayna Baszler. Well, Rhea beat all 3 of them, and Becky. Rhea beat all 4 of them hands down in good matches. It was dominant. It was pretty much not a blow, but a dominant match. So now, who can you put it on? Only thing that can save the women's division is next week, in a couple of weeks with the draft. If I was Triple H, knowing that Raw kind of the roster between the ladies roster of SmackDown and Raw was kind of depreciated between both of them, I would draft Jade Cargill or either Bianca to Raw right now, put the title on them, or I would wait because like we just said, it feels like it was rushed. You got the Queen of the Ring tournament coming on. I would just wait to the Queen of the Ring tournament, put Jade or Bianca in the tournament, let them win it, and crown the new champ right there. You'd be the Queen of the Ring and the new champ.
Yeah, I love the point y'all are making about this being rushed, and they've already pigeonholed them to crowning a new champion next week with no match announced. This doesn't make sense. I'm not sure who's the next champion.
A couple of hot spots I want to get to. First, with the babyface thing with Mike. I saw it on Instagram yesterday. The Cody Rhodes segment on Friday Night SmackDown last week, the 3 clips the WWE put out, averaged
give me
about,
some
about
nonsense.
2 million per clip or something like that. The
Okay.
Bloodline segment from last Friday Night SmackDown averaged 7 and 8 million per clip. So just to give you an
Here we
idea of
go.
how different this is
Oh,
going to
totally.
be going forward.
Here we go. Here we
Hashtag
go. Hold
transitional
on.
champion. Now
My man said,
the second
YouTube
part here.
views.
The second part here, when you guys are talking about
God.
the length of the reign of Rhea, and they should have let her hold it another week to break the record. You got to ask yourself, did Rhea want it that way? You know, these wrestlers are friends backstage. Would she have wanted to break Bayley's record by knowing she was injured and couldn't compete, just holding it a week and then they take it away? I believe she wouldn't have done that because of the competitor she is. So the fact that she could end it tied with Bayley was probably the best way to go about doing it. So shout out to that. She's got something probably torn or something that's going on for her to miss that many months. Obviously, WWE wasn't planning it. I've heard that it happened when Liv chucked that chair at her last Monday, and then when she threw her in the wall, that's when she hurt her shoulder. But nobody knows for sure when it happened. I got a pick for who they should put it on. I say they should put it on Tiffany Stratton. Let her run with it for a little bit. Just some new fresh blood, some new era. She definitely can go in the ring. And everyone else that you just mentioned has either had it or has been in competition for it for the past couple of weeks. I don't want it on Becky Lynch. Don't want it on Nia Jax. I like what they're trying to do on SmackDown with Naomi and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, the big three or whatever. They're trying to make them a little like click to kind of go up against Damage Control. I kind of like that. I could see Io Sky, like, you know, getting that belt, you know, like I could easily see that happening. And they just literally switch Damage Control to Raw. Like that would cure a lot of the issues they're having with having women on the roster over there. So there's a couple different ways they can go with this. The beauty of Triple H and their booking is that they don't book themselves into corners. Like they typically have multiple ways of layered storyline to kind of get this out. Liv Morgan was on her or is on her revenge tour or whatnot. Obviously she would be the number one choice to be around the belt. I imagine they're going to do like a fatal 4-way or something on Raw next week, and the winner will win, kind of similar to when Finn Balor won the Universal Championship over Seth Rollins. And then the next night on Raw, he gave it up, and then Triple H made the fatal 4-way. What if they rewrite it and do it that way? And Triple H comes out and actually help, or Stephanie McMahon comes out and helps.
Give me Stephanie. I was gonna say, give me Steph. Give me Steph in that role.
You know, they just do the exact same way it happened with Kevin Owens and Triple H at the end of that match, where Triple H gave the pedigree and was like, "Here you go," and Kevin's like, and goes and pin him. What if they do that again, but they do it with Tiffany?
I like that, Des. Honestly, I really like that. That's for the first time in a while, I'll agree with you on that. That'd be solid. But I don't like the name you picked, because I think we're overlooking a couple superstars on Raw, because it sounds like they're gonna kind of keep Tiffany over on SmackDown, or they're gonna wait till the draft to kind of assess that situation.
In the draft next week. The draft
next week.
Yeah,
next week.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
I mean, it gives a week to kind of assess the situation, but I think they're gonna put it on someone on Raw just for the time being. But I think two names for me: Nia definitely, Shayna Baszler for sure. But don't sleep on Zoe Stark, fellas. Don't sleep on Stark, because if you are in a situation where the title suddenly has to be relinquished, it's vacant, and you're in a new era of WWE, it's a great time to make a new star, like Des said. And I think Zoe Stark for the last year put in the work. She had some great feuds. She had some great rivalries on Raw. She was with Trish. She got elevated by Becky. Give me Zoe Stark. Give me Zoe Stark and Shayna in a beef over the title, maybe going to Backlash. Those two can go out there and have a heck of a match. I'm just saying.
Here's a question nobody here brought up that we probably should have started off with. When is Charlotte Flair scheduled to be back?
She's a
freak
freak
of
nature.
ATL.
She's a freak of nature. I would say like a month at this point with the recovery.
Okay, I was going to say, imagine I can easily see Charlotte Flair just popping up on Monday and winning the title, but if she's not ready, then they won't do that. I'm not really familiar with who's down in NXT. I don't think they would do that either.
The only person they could probably bring would be Roxanne Priest, but you don't want to take the NXT belt off her. You don't want her to put the burden on her having to carry that women's division. You know, she's good at NXT, but
she's good.
I'm trying to think of who else is. It's crazy because the women's division was really strong. It's weird how one injury kind of like exposes some of the weaknesses.
I mean, you got Natty. You got Natty on Raw. You could pop her out of that tag team with Tegan Knox. I know a lot of people aren't Natty guys. I stand Natty. I think Natty doesn't get I don't think she gets the respect and the flowers she deserves, because real talk, she's out there training some of the men and the women out there, like across all different promotions. So I think she deserves a little respect. So I wouldn't be mad at Natty. She's got history with Rhea and that title. She tried to win it 3 times, maybe 4 times a charm.
Now, I will say that is an interesting take, Mike. First, when you guys were talking about, people that Becky Lynch made famous, like Tiffany Stratton and Zoe Stark, like those are 2 viable options to be like the next person. But especially after seeing Triple H give Bayley the title at WrestleMania because of Bayley's hard work over the last few years, and Triple H said she was underrated. Maybe Triple H gives Natalya the title or somebody else he feels that's underrated. That's going to be a thing that we have to look out for here in the next little bit.
Whoever it is will probably be a transitional champ too, in terms of just holding the belt and getting it to whoever's going to have it for a while. Because Triple H is old school the way he books. Like the championships don't hop around hot potato style. Like they mean something because they're with the person for a long period of time. So I would imagine they're going to be very particular about who they put this on.
Yeah. And so we'll see about that. We're going to go into our That Aged Well segment for the final couple minutes of Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. Shawn, I'm going to hit you with the question first. Who has more yards, Devonta Smith or AJ Brown this season?
AJ Brown. AJ Brown's the progressive receiver. Devonta, he knows the job. Speedy receiver. Get down the field, big plays. But AJ Brown's the pretty much workload of, even though that Jalen's looking for Devonta, AJ's going to be the one to continue.
All right. That's Shawn's pick. Mike, I'm going to hit you with a different question instead of the Philly question, instead of the one I told you, because I want your legitimate answer to this. AEW Dynasty is this Sunday. Swerve or Samoa Joe?
Oh man, dude, it's I swerve when I drive, baby. It's time. It is Swerve's house. It is time to put that title on Swerve Strickland. That man has been working. That man has been putting in the effort. He is one of the best features of AEW per week. Even if I get a little upset with some of the choices they make on their weekly television program, but that's neither here nor there. Swerve Strickland and new AEW World Champion. Thank you very much.
All right. And Des, your question for That Aged Well. We talked about the play-in tournament extensively yesterday on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. You guys can go back and watch it on demand through the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode in the future. But Des, your question is, who wins the play-in game tonight between the New Orleans Pelicans and your Los Angeles Lakers?
Oh, man. Why you always have me picking my teams? Like, you're jinxing my teams. Like, why are you making me pick my teams? The last 3 times you've done this to me, my team has lost in a playoff game. So,
do you want me to switch to the other play-in game? What's
please,
the other play-in game tonight?
Can we switch to the other ones? Because I don't want to pick on the Lakers because I can't even watch it. I got baseball tonight, so I can't even watch the game.
And I know which one you're going to pick for this one: the Golden State Warriors or Sacramento Kings.
Actually, who's the higher seed? Sacramento? Yeah, because the Warriors are the 10th seed, right? So they're playing Sacramento?
Yeah, they have the same record.
I think I'm going to pick the Kings, actually. I know I just said all this yesterday about, wanting Steph Curry and a one-off and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
Sleeping on it, though, these Warriors are so flawed. Like, they're just flawed. They've been flawed all year. And I don't know if Steph by himself is enough because – I don't know what Klay Thompson shows up. I don't know what Draymond Green shows up. I don't know what Jonathan Kuminga shows. Like, I don't know what team shows up for Golden State. I'm pretty good with Steph probably getting to, 30-something points. But after that, I don't trust the rest of the team. So I think I'm going to go with Sacramento.
Okay. That was not the direction I thought you were going with that. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
And with the Lakers and Pelicans, I guess I'll predict that game. And let me take the Pelicans.
It's in New Orleans.
Because if Zion comes up with like 35 points and beats LeBron in a play-in game, I mean, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good for Zion Williamson.
Does it? Does it look good for Zion? Like, the fact they're in the play-in is kind of not a good look to begin with. The fact that he beat him in a one-game scenario at home, I don't know if that really changes anybody's opinion on Zion, but Zion needs to win a series. Like, that's what's going to change his opinion about Zion Williamson. He needs to win a series against one of these teams in the West. The West is so loaded. It's just ridiculous. In the East, I didn't even realize it until a friend of mine who's a Knicks fan pointed it out a day or two ago after the Knicks clinched on Sunday. From this 2 seed to the 8 seed, it's like a 4 or 5 game difference or something, like in the East. Like they're that pushed together. So there's really not much of a difference between the Knicks and like the Heat. Yeah. So like it's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy.
Except
and Giannis didn't even play in the first part of the series in the first round. So I mean, it's the playoffs are gonna be wild.
Except there's a difference because the Miami Heat actually beat the Knicks last year in the playoffs. They also beat the Bucks and the Celtics in the playoffs to go to the NBA Finals. The first time a play-in teams made the NBA Finals. So just wanted to add that tidbit in there. It'll be interesting, and we'll watch some play-in games as well tomorrow night. The Heat and the 76ers, the Hawks and Chicago Bulls. But Out Pocket will be back on Thursday, 12:30 p.m. We have a big show in store, including Jeff Hartman from Fans First Sports Network, Emily Morgan. Both of them will be on for the first time. Emily Morgan does incredible logo design. So if you haven't seen her, she'll be on the show as well. And we'll talk. What is the worst NFL trade in history? Sit on that for a couple of days. We'll hit on it Thursday. I'll release my wrestling pod tomorrow, drop the mic, as well as the Cat Cave with my co-hosts Ryan and Shannon. But that is it for Out Pocket today. Subscribe to Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, and we will see you guys back here Thursday, 12:30 p.m. for Out Pocket with Michael Davis.